Hey y'all, welcome to America, land of the free and home of the brave. Well, one thing's for sure, we are one big melting pot with people from every color, different backgrounds, and now we've made some progress over the years, but how are we doing in terms of interacting with each other? Are we truly doing our best in terms of diversity, equity, and inclusion? Oh, that's the situation for today, baby. So buckle up, buttercups. The conversation starts now.
Situations and conversations with Renee. Situations and conversations with Renee. Real situations, real conversations. Empowering the community leads to elevation. Entertainment and education, no better time.
Hey, welcome to Situations and Conversations. I am your host, Renee. Very happy that you are joining us today because we have a very important topic, DEI. And here with me is an expert, April Allen of Allen and Unger, to talk all about how DEI is showing up in the real world and whether or not it's actually being valued in corporate settings. April, thank you for joining us.
Yes, my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Well, in all disclosure, you've been a part of the Situations and Conversations family for years now.
For years.
Yes, you've been helping me produce some shows, but I'd love to have you sitting in the chair across from me because you are an expert in the diversity, equity, and inclusion space.
That is true.
And you have your own company consulting people and companies on DEI.
Yes.
And so let's just jump right on into
Okay.
it because I feel like from what I'm seeing in the news, there's a full-on assault, a backlash against DEI when years ago it was all the rage. Every company wanted to have a DEI something or the other title.
Yeah.
What's happening now? Oh, you got to sip some? Okay. It's that serious? Let me join you.
It's serious.
Let's get into it then.
It was all the rage. It was a trend, right? Just like we have trends with the Stanley Cup. Remember that was a trend for my kid.
Oh, yes.
And DEI became a trend, right? And I think some of it was born out of guilt, shame, wanting to be seen as,
Black Lives Matter.
Black Lives Matter. Yeah, right. We're coming off of Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, George Floyd, rest in peace. And people are captivated at home because this is during COVID when a lot of this starts rising, right? Where people, all of a sudden you see organizations and corporations, we are donating this much money and they're having all these conversations and you see all this money getting poured into DEIB. Now we call it DEIB, diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging.
Why do they always add yet another letter? I can't keep up with all
I know,
of these
no
things.
one really can, but we'll talk about that a little bit later, how belonging is actually important.
Okay.
But, so yeah, it was the rage. And then once we went back to our normal lives and you don't have a captivated audience at home because no longer COVID's at play where people are stuck in the house and it's on your social media as you scroll through all the time, it has definitely lost some of its luster.
Yes. Okay. And I can understand that to a degree. Doesn't mean that I agree, but I can understand,
I don't
right?
agree.
But let me say this, take it a step further because it's not only that it's lost its luster. It feels like there's a full-on assault.
Yeah, no,
a lot of hostility and a huge seemingly backlash. Like people are coming out and eliminating DEI programs, affirmative anything.
Yeah,
like coming right out and blasting it. Oh, and blasting it like it's the thing.
Yeah, no, there is a full-on assault. So
why
in
is
all
that?
seriousness, we get that.
We got time today.
We have some time. There's a few answers I have for that, but I think a question that I've seen in Forbes and Fortune is DEI dead? No, it's not dead. Okay. And the reason I say that, one, obviously I do the work. I've been doing the work for 20 years.
Correct.
I'm aging myself. I know I look like I'm 22. But
you do look like a baby.
But I've been doing the work forever.
Thing.
Thank you. Black don't crack.
No.
But since it was called multiculturalism, right? And it was, when we were in the student centers and they were calling it multiculturalism. But the reality is DEI is not dead and there is an assault on it foolishly. And I say that because diversity is a fact and not a goal. And that's part of my tagline or our tagline at my company. The reality is that 53% of the workforce right now is non-white. Just follow with me and catch this.
Okay.
You got 25% of Gen Z saying they are part of the LGBTQ plus community.
Okay.
You have 20% of people saying they are neurodivergent, identifying as, right? When we were growing up, you didn't say, people weren't talking about if they were on the spectrum or if they had ADHD or anything. It was just kind of like, okay, we're not, that's what it is.
Right.
But now people are coming into work and saying, yep, I need accommodations for this, or this is how I learn, or this is how I work best. You have 5 generations in the workplace. So you have from generation A, Alpha now, coming in, Z, Millennials, X, and baby boomers. So you have all these generations in the workplace. Okay? So diversity is a fact.
Right. It's here. And that's the whole part.
It is here.
And we've been this melting pot as this country, whether people want to admit it, acknowledge it, or one particular person who's at the forefront of this movement of acting like, we need to go way back into time and as if that was such a great time. I mean, we've always been a diverse population.
Yes, it's always been a diverse population. I equate it to, if I don't step on the scale, it still doesn't mean I didn't gain weight. You know what I'm like? I can try to squeeze on the size.
Right.
Baby,
delusional.
You're not getting into those jeans.
It's delusional.
It's over after them 2 kids. Things is not. The waist isn't snatching the same way.
It's okay.
So the reality, my point of saying that though, in all seriousness, is we have diversity in the workforce. Even the jobs, the data has shown the jobs that we have available and will be available in the next 10 years, we don't even have enough American workers to fill them.
Legally, how much do people need to adjust in corporations? I mean, there are legal cases.
Oh,
there's legal because you're also on the legal side of things.
Yeah.
Let's not don't get it confused. My girl's a lawyer as well. The people are bringing cases left and right.
Yeah.
Regarding diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging.
Yes. And it's true. I mean, people are going to bring these suits, especially if we have a change in political party. That's just the reality of it. And they're talking about it. One of Donald Trump's main advisors, Stephen Miller, he is the one who said DEI is dead and we're going after DEI because it's reverse discrimination. So there is going to be some legal challenges that organizations are going to have to make sure that they safeguard against. The best way to do that is data.
Okay.
And so that's what I've been telling organizations. Look, you're gonna have to look at your data and collect the data. Some organizations don't like to collect data. And when I say collect data, you're gonna have to collect hiring data and promotion data. And why? Because organizations that may have people threatening to bring these lawsuits or file a suit against them, they're gonna, the person, the plaintiff, if let's say it's a white guy who's saying, oh my gosh, you're discriminating against me.
Right.
They're gonna have to show that if they didn't get hired or get promoted, that there was an adverse effect on them, meaning they got shut out from the job and that there's somehow a majority of that group is being discriminated against. So white men are being discriminated against. But usually right away you can see most of the jobs are with
white men.
White men are white folks, right? So right there you lose your legal argument. You can't show that you're being discriminated against, you just wasn't chosen.
Well, I mean, when you look at the Supreme Court and how things are being stacked up these days, there's no telling what an outcome is going to be.
I know.
And these are the things that make people nervous about, I mean, we're not going to get political all the way, but this is why it is super important for you to pay attention to not just the national election, but your local elections as well, because those are some of the people we're sending off to Congress who are then making these bills and these laws. It's a whole thing. Do your civics homework. Okay, we're out of time, but you're gonna hang out, right? You're gonna hang out and stick around. Okay, please, you do the same. This conversation continues with a fantastic expert coming up next on Situations and Conversations. Don't go away.
Special thanks to our presenting sponsor, Oregon Health Authority, helping people in communities achieve optimum physical, mental, and social well-being.
Hi there, welcome everyone. My name's Yolanda Frazier. I am your elected president of our local NAACP Vancouver, Washington branch 1139. I'd like to just share with you a little bit about why you should join our local branch. First and foremost, the NAACP was founded in the early 1900s in the basement of Black churches to really suss out our communities and what we can do to stop racism and, most importantly, fight for our civil rights. I want you to know that as your president, it is of utmost importance. It is an imperative that you think about joining our branch. So thank you so much. And I want to say that you all should have a blessed day.
And we are back with Situations and Conversations. Now joining me is college professor and author Dante King, who is here today to share a little bit, or maybe more than a little, about his recently published book. And along with that, we're also going to talk about racism and how it's impacting society and culture today. Everybody, welcome my god brother in all disclosure, Dante King.
Thank you
Yes!
very much.
I am so happy to have you here. My heart is so full. I have to let the people know we grew up together.
Yes, we did.
We are bona fide god brother and god sister. And to have you sitting here with me now almost has me wanting to tear up with so much joy. I'm so proud of all of the work that you have done, who you've always been, and who you have grown into being and impacting the world in the way that you are. So I just want to start by saying I love you and I appreciate you beyond measure.
Thank you. I love you too.
Okay, I know. Now let's get professional because we're not little kids anymore. And the world we grew up in, well, things have changed. And so behind the scenes, I saw you chomping at the bit over there when April Allen was up here talking, and you're like, ooh, like double dutch, get me in, I need to get in there. So why don't you go ahead and like just kind of start off with some of the thoughts on the conversation we've already been having?
Sure. So I'm the author of the book, The 400-Year Holocaust, White America's Legal, Psychopathic, and Sociopathic Black Genocide and the Revolt Against Critical Race Theory. So my thoughts are on the topic of DEI and whether or not it's dead. For one, white people don't have a problem with diversity, equity, and inclusion. They don't. They have a problem with racial diversity, equity, and inclusion. Because we have to understand that at the founding of this country, these institutions were founded by Europeans for Europeans. This was deemed a white country, and that's central to the Naturalization Act of 1790, which states that citizenship is based on whiteness. And so then when we get to the amendments, like the 13th, 14th, 15th Amendments that now includes non-white people and are specifically targeted at giving rights to Black people, white people have a concern. And so what do? Even in the 1860s and 1870s, they rally the courts to take away rights from Black people. And you see one by one, starting in 1873 with the slaughterhouse cases, Crookshank in 1876, United States v. Harris in 1883, a set of rulings by the Supreme Court of the United States that sets legal precedents that Black people can be discriminated against.
Right.
And so we're in that same moment right now as we see white people who are concerned. April mentioned Stephen Miller in America's First Legal. They're concerned about racial diversity and white people being deprioritized somehow. And I think that is not just, not only does it lack integrity, but it's delusional. Because again, white America and white institutions have prioritized white people, and everything that individual white people have, as well as the collective group of white people, it is because they've been prioritized through America's institutions. Everything that they have as a group and as individuals has come through legal policy at the local, state, and federal level. And so anything centering non-white people and specifically advocating for not only just more representation through diversity efforts, but that there be equity and parity, white people do not want it. And they've said that. They've been very vocal and honest about that. We just saw, for example, Ann Coulter tell Vivek Ramaswamy that she wouldn't have voted for him because he's an Indian and that America was based on white Anglo-Saxon priorities and principles. And that is the truth. So I don't know why we as non-white people, specifically as Black people, aren't either comfortable with facing the reality that we are resented for being here and we're not wanted here. And we definitely they don't want to feel like they have to compete with us because they don't feel that as though we deserve anything.
And listen, anybody who's walking around in our skin, if you don't get a sense of that at some point in your life, then you're delusional.
Absolutely.
Right? Because it's an everyday reality for us, right? But you really say it very clear and very plain. And a lot of times some people really have an issue with you being so vocal and so bold in speaking some of the things that are just facts, like straight facts. That's what you were just spitting here. But when it comes to the title of your book, boy, oh boy, do people get like up in arms. I'm going to say it again. The 400-Year Holocaust, White America's Legal, Psychopathic, and Sociopathic Black Genocide, and the Revolt Against Critical Race Theory. First of all, that's a mouthful. How did you even decide and come up with wanting to write about all of this? And were you ever fearful? I mean, backlash is real.
I think I was fearful to a degree, but once I, as a Black man, begin to be targeted in this society through my places of employment and just in daily life, that fear was overcome by anger and rage. I titled my book the way that I did because once I began to find laws and policies through the colonial period that actually gave the right to not only English Europeans, but other European ethnic groups to just outright murder and commit violence against Black bodies, I began to ask the question, what happens to a group of people who are socialized to not only target this other group, but on the basis of their phenotype, of their skin color, and they're being programmed to just commit and justify and rationalize violence and evil against these people. And so it began to become clear to me that whiteness is sovereign to America, that anyone who has white skin, and Cheryl Harris, who's a law professor, she says that whiteness is the most valuable property that one can have in this society. That is absolutely true. But the other part of this is that when whiteness becomes so important to a group of people that they base their humanity off of it, they base whether or not their sense of worth and value, how they see themselves, and they're also willing to kill other people in order to protect it. That's not only just owning that this characteristic is important to them, but it is absolutely psychotic and diabolical. Because now you're saying that this characteristic, this human characteristic that I possess, that I've deemed as important, I'm willing to kill over it. And people who don't look like me, people who show up differently, who I see as less valuable or worth less, I can kill them, I can commit violence against them. That takes it to a whole entirely different level.
Yes, and we see it every day. We're
right.
Still seeing it right now in 2024. I know we're going to be running out of time for this particular segment, and I know you're going to hang around, but what is the average person to do? Because are you talking about all white people or some? And then what are people of color or anybody who's different supposed to do about this if we're living in America?
Well, it's all white people, and the reason that I say it's not just specific to all white people, because all of us as Americans are implicated. We've been socialized to serve Eurocentricity and to acclimate ourselves, and we use white institutions, white cultural norms and customs to ascribe value and worth to ourselves and each other. So we're all implicated. But white people, because they control the institutions as a political group, as a cultural group, they control America. And what happens here, they are the bulk of the responsibility in terms of changing these things, it lies with them. And so what I advocate to white people first and foremost is that they need to learn their history and learn more about themselves outside of the sanitized versions or the sanitized versions of history and the sanitized ideas that are disseminated out to not just to them, but to the outward world about who they are and how they've evolved.
They can't take that. They're trying to take anything that's factual about the real history of America out of the classrooms, CRT, all of it, critical race theory, everything. You know about that. You're an expert in all of this. Because like you said, when they control all of these things, they're burning books, they're banning books, they're taking all the things away so that it looks like America just was such this wonderful place. And, people who were enslaved learned things through that. We should be grateful that we had enslaved ancestors because we were able to learn things. Like, are you kidding me? Who's believing this? Too many people.
That's right.
Because they're afraid. When you say that, and white people in general are concerned, the truth is they're afraid. They're afraid of losing their position, losing their power. And what would that mean? And I just want to applaud you for continuing this work and being here in the fight every day. I love and appreciate you, and I'm not the only one.
I love you too.
I love you so much. And thank you for being bold and brave and essentially you. Woo! Okay, we're coming right back. We're all gonna take a breather, come right back. A little lighthearted with little Hey Trey coming up next. Don't go away.
Special thanks to our presenting sponsor, Oregon Health Authority, helping people and communities achieve optimum physical, mental, and social well-being.
Conversations with Trey Renee. Situations and conversations with Trey Renee.
All right, we are back with Situations and Conversations with my favorite segment. It's time for Hey Trey. This is where we talk about the things that you are absolutely talking about, some of which you bring to the table. And this being the month of Juneteenth, we thought, let's bring this question. Reparations, baby, this is something that people are talking about, and actually some cities act like they want to try and actually do, paying reparations to Black folks for all of the years of just undue harm and stress and all the things, the post-traumatic slave syndrome that we all know is very real. So let's bring this to the table. I have Tay with us, who's my executive producer, back per usual. Dante King is still hanging out with us, as well as April Allen, and this is right up y'all's alley. I mean, if you had $10 million in reparations coming to you. Now, I know that sounds like, oh, please, right? But these are some of the numbers being thrown out by actual cities and government agencies, and I don't even know if this is really a real thing, but if you had that to spend and it came your way via reparations, how would you spend it, Tay?
Oh, well, first I'm gonna ask where I need to move to. Secondly,
probably out of the country.
Yeah. Secondly, I don't know. Like me and my family, we've toyed around with this. If we ever receive reparations, how we would spend it. First, I'm just gonna assume that my student loan debt isn't ever gonna actually get canceled. So I'll take care of that for myself and my sister, and then from there. Try to reinvest in my community some way. As you know, a lot of my family does live in Texas now, so that my sense of community is kind of different. Also trying to build out the large plot of land that my family does own in just outside Jackson, Mississippi, in New Mississippi. While my family does live there, they don't necessarily have access to some of the resources my immediate family does, or other people across like larger metro areas. So, that'd probably be one of the first things I
Look at you. You all about family with your reparations
No,
money. I love it. I love it.
I mean, I'm gonna splurge a little bit. Like
a little something, all right. You can get a little swag, a little something, okay. But... April.
Oh man, I didn't know this was the question. So what would I do if I got $10 million? Okay, first of all, I wouldn't feel guilty.
Okay,
that's one thing I would not do. I would not feel guilty. I would be like, yeah, thank you. So I guess for me, invest in education would be one. And I would do that obviously for my family, but I would do that for the community as well. Really invest in, I would start with elementary school education or even pre-K education, and really set up centers and schools that really educated folks with the truth of history, the truth of American history and culture and Blackness, if I'm just being straight up, because there's so much lies and misnomers around the beauty and greatness of Black people. And so I would want that told. Obviously, my husband is a wealth advisor, so he makes rich people richer. So I know I would be investing in a lot of businesses, but I would put some resources in Africa and Ghana. My husband's Jamaican. I would do some some investment there, and I would try to really help the African diaspora is what I would be doing.
And this is why we will never get reparations, because y'all want to invest in more black folks and helping us come along even further. And guess what? That is not going to happen. I'm looking at Dante and I'm like, yeah, what do you have to say? You don't even have to answer what you do with the money. Just talk about reparations in general.
In terms of the reparations conversation, I don't think many times that we as black people understand that white people and white leaders in America authorized and engineered the institution of racial slavery. And they did it with tremendous intention. And so they don't feel as though this was an ill or anything that they did wrong. And the white masses, white people in general, don't believe that America owes black people anything. And so the conversation we were having before is to understand America as a business, is to understand that America is not going to give away any free money, and that the morality structure in America is not based upon the sacredness that we hold in regards to right or wrong, and whether people have operated with integrity or they've done right or wrong by people. The landscape of morality, white American morality, is predicated or affixed upon capitalism. It's affixed upon what is politically serving or politically right or wrong. It's not about the considerations around people's humanity. It's about what is politically, what serves America, what serves our reputation, our reputational standing around the world politically, and what does not. And so there is no political motivation or reason as to why white America would pay reparations to black people.
So this is not a conversation we're going to settle in a hate trade and the situations and conversations, probably not even in our lifetime, but we have to keep having them. And I am so honored to have you all here, to have had this discussion. Thank you again for being here. Thank you all for joining us. I know that this was a tough one, so let's woosah together. Ooh. And remember that we are in this together. We have got to figure this out together, somehow, some way. And if you can't seem to do that, then do your own research and get it together. Hope to see you again for another Situations and Conversations again real soon. In the meantime, please take excellent care of yourselves, because that is the only way you're going to be able to take care of anybody else, which is our mission. When you think me, think we. When you think you, think too. We'll see you next time.
Special thanks to our presenting sponsor, Oregon Health Authority, helping people and communities achieve optimum physical, mental, and social well-being. And thanks to Tabiba Styles for hair and makeup glam, as well as Adorn Boutiques for my wardrobe. Situations and Conversations with Trey Renee is shot on location at Louisa Event Space in Portland. Situations and Conversations with Trey Renee is a Bum Juice Entertainment production in conjunction with Thomas Chung Films, Bloom Beauty Collective, and Allen & Unger Consulting Group. Situations and Conversations with Trey Renee. Watch Saturday mornings at 11 a.m. on Fox 12 Plus.